Another argument for Zordon being evil is that he uses teenagers because they are easy to manipulate. Now, most of you have seen the theme song 100 times where Zordon says teenagers with attitude. But in the actual show, he says to Alpha, send us 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans. Now that sounds a little more manipulative, don't you agree? The over-emotional part definitely plays into the idea of someone you can manipulate.
That also, teenagers are over emotional, let's be honest. What's up, everybody? Celtic Character here, reacting to another video to get those 10s and 20 views. Well, there are conspiracy theories about, everything. Super Carlin Brothers made a ton of money doing Harry Potter theories. We watched the Five Nights at Freddy conspiracy theory. I know there's a Poppy's Playtime, even though the game's not really over in the next chapter. I'm not sure what's coming out. But today, we're going to react to something from my childhood. If you're on my age, almost 40. Or, 40 or almost 40. You grew up loving the Power Rangers. Today, we are reacting to Mighty Morphin Conspiracy Theory. My man wants to make a whole page dedicated to Power Rangers, so I'm going to give him a shot, especially if it's the conspiracy of Zordon is not who you think he is. So, let's get to it. Of course, this is the channel logo, title of the video, and the video is in the descriptions. Let's see what my man has to say.
Conspiracy theories. I'm not really hiding the motivation here, and for those who really don't want to talk about this subject, I'm sorry, but I have to. Now, I've discussed 2 parts of this theory
My headset wasn't getting like through.
in 2 different videos, and I've heard about every single argument imaginable about why Zordon isn't evil, but I wanted to make one cohesive video to put all that together because people are arguing one subject on one video that is actually answered on the other video and vice versa. Hey guys, my name's
I didn't know he had other videos. He's actually giving his name?
Casey. I'm a fan of the whole entire Power Ranger franchise, and I just love it, and I love discussing this stuff with you guys. But before I start berating you...
It's like, I don't hate the Power Rangers theories, but it is like, in my opinion, like some of the writing is very like basic. But then again, you're targeting like 10-year-olds, so yeah, it makes sense.
With liking, subscribing, putting your credit card information down below. I want to make sure I'm upfront with you. This is a subject that people get pretty fired up about, and I'm just going to be honest and tell you that when I see people using vulgar language, cursing, calling people names in the comments, or just being outright rude,
Don't be fucking assholes. This man is wholesome. Feel free to be an asshole on my channel. It'll be a comment. But no, if you're putting out an actual theory, and this is nothing I've dealt with personally yet, thank God. Even when I did like on the main channel, the NFL mock draft grades, everyone just been kind of peaceful about it. It's like, hey, I think it's this because of this. That's how it should be. You shouldn't just go to auto, like, bad language just because you disagree with somebody. It's something I've said on my main channel a bunch of times. If you disagree with me, make your own damn video. See how respected it gets. This man is putting his face, his name, and his theories out on the internet. Just be nice and just go after him with like opinion-based things, not emotional-based things.
I go to their profile and I stop them from commenting on my videos in the future. Don't find that behavior appropriate in real life. I don't find that appropriate in videos. If you want to discuss these subjects, I am totally game. I love commenting. You can see on past videos, I try to respond to everybody, but I'm not putting up with people doing name calling. So I just want to be upfront with that. Also,
respectful. That is very respectful. But also, I'm okay with a little bit of foul language. Like, dude, what the fuck? It's like, sometimes a good curse word in the right place is perfectly placed. It's good. But, this is a kid's show, so if he wants to be a kid-friendly person, let's respect that. Like I said, you can curse here. I don't care.
Also, in the other 2 videos, a lot of people start commenting, and it's very obvious they never actually watch the video. So if you're going to discuss this, please watch the whole video. And finally, it is very important to have watched the Zordon era as an adult. We sometimes romanticize these characters because we only remember the things we like about them. And Zordon is definitely one of those characters that...
I will say this, piggyback off what he just said. Go back and watch a lot of the kids we watched as an adult, as kids. You realize how many inappropriate jokes got slipped in? Like Rugrats and Hey Arnold? It's
That
hilarious.
watching back kind of gives you a whole new perspective. The fan theory of Zordon being evil originated from the show's poor editing at the beginning. The production team was scrambling to get these episodes out. A lot of weeks regularly featured 4 brand new episodes, so they had to work very quickly. This is one
Tommy just teabagged somebody?
of the arguments most people bring up, which is basically saying it's the editors, not Zordon, so by default it doesn't count. The excuse that production caused it so it gets a pass is a poor one. Famously, the Ewoks in Star Wars were going to be a planet full of Wookiees, but the costumes were too expensive, so they made smaller versions, which became Ewoks. But no one in the Star Wars fandom say, Ewoks don't exist, those are Wookiees, it's production's fault. It's part of the
Ewoks are just midget Wookiees. Or little people Wookiees. Ewoks are Wookiees with dwarfism. There we go.
storyline regardless, so Zordon not telling the Rangers valuable information or not giving them proper training is a part of the show and Zordon's lore. Zordon not
Yeah, I can see, and this is me not watching the video, so I'm just going in this as someone who grew up watching Power Rangers. I can understand the ideology of Zordon and the Power Rangers in general being somewhat like neutral. They're not really good, not really evil, because you had Zordon and Rita were both Power Rangers, and it's like maybe it was a fight at the top to see who would rule supreme. Zordon wanted to rule, Rita wanted to rule, so that could be a simple
not
theory.
revealing information to the Rangers in preparation is extremely detrimental. Zordon would only reveal information when it was absolutely crucial. Some people argue that this isn't a big deal. He didn't want to give them too much information to process, or that he gave them information at the right times. But the issue is that Zordon asked 5 teenagers to risk their lives every day in dangerous situations,
It's like Dumbledore with Harry Potter.
and he never trained them. He just let them sort of figure it out on their own a lot of the time, which is a horrible way to mentor a team. He should be preparing them for every possible encounter. That way, when they get a monster that can shapeshift or do something unique, they will know how to defeat them. Zordon also kept many secrets over time. The Rangers were surprised to learn Zordon didn't know how to create Ranger powers. The Rangers are led to believe that Zordon created the White Ranger powers for Tommy, but later, when they lose their coins, he sends them to Ninjor because he can't do anything about it.
Yeah, he was just a Power Ranger himself who just now has kind of like how Rita had the green power coin. He just had the others.
kind of brushes it off, and no one really asks, wait, but you kind of made it seem like you made the White Power Ranger. Zed, Master Vile, Rito, Lokar, Dark Spectre, or any of the powerful villains are never explained by Zordon. Had they known the vast evil out there, they might have been training more heavily. He sent them to Edenoi without explaining the Masked Rider powers, which resulted in them fighting Prince Dex. They never knew there were other Rangers in the universe until they were turned into kids and the Alien Rangers came to help them. Zordon had a relationship with Andros and what can be assumed as the original space team, and it's easy to believe he didn't lead that team successfully, resulting in most of the team's deaths. Withholding information is a manipulative tactic narcissists use to keep people dependent on them. Zordon keeping...
True. And that kind of goes back to the one theory I kind of put out, which is the Power Rangers as a Sentinel probably was an original team of Zordon, Lord Zed, Rita, kind of like a bunch of like royal families who are just like, here's our greatest members of our family, and there'll be a thing, but each one of them want to rule the world, the universe by themselves at one point.
All this stuff a secret raises a lot of questions. Now, I know this is a controversial topic, and that's why I'm trying to tread lightly. The truth...
Oh, dear God, it's a fictional show. If someone gets upset over a fan theory, which so far he's presented in a very easy to understand way, it's on them for being soft.
I don't think Zordon is evil in the sense that he wants to rule the galaxy. Zordon feels he is a hero with good intentions. What I do believe is that Zordon is a narcissist. He is someone who doesn't feel a lot of remorse for his actions.
Is Zordon Trump? a narcissist that thinks they're doing good and but it's like morally gray at times.
Because he feels 100% justified in doing what he needs to do to get the job done. And narcissists are great at manipulating people to do what they want. And while manipulating them, the victim feels heard or even happy to help a narcissist out. Another argument for Zordon being evil is that he uses teenagers because they are easy to manipulate. Now, most of you have seen the theme song 100 times where Zordon says teenagers with attitude. But in the actual show, he says to Alpha, send us 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans. Now that sounds a little more manipulative, don't you agree? The over-emotional part definitely plays into the idea of someone you can manipulate.
That also, teenagers are over-emotional, let's be honest.
People who get worked up easily can be scared into being paranoid and be controlled. Now, a lot of people are...
Which, if you go back to look at like the newest Power Rangers movie, there were all kids that got into trouble. There were all kids in detention for not minor things.
Argue that he only took teenagers because of the Ranger team from 1969. In the comics, the Rangers befriend Grace Sterling when trying to apprehend Fencer. They come to discover that Grace was the original red Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, something Zordon hid from them. Zordon's first team consisted of adults, all successful in their own right, more grounded than a group of teenagers. Grace Sterling was a scientist, wannabe astronaut at NASADA, the Power Rangers universe version of NASA. She was on the team who helped make the first moon landing. Torona Washington was a Vietnam War veteran who had served in the military. Nikolai...
See, I didn't... God, Nikolai. He looks angry. Really? You guys did a show. I guess Red's just generally the leader. You couldn't make the Russian Red? Come on.
Chikarin was a KGB analyst. A native to the Soviet Union, he was definitely an intelligent human, as well as showing natural bravery. Daniel O'Halloran was a successful activist who protested political issues, especially the Vietnam War.
That's why he's pink.
And lastly was Jamie Gilmore. She was a British singer-songwriter who was in a band called The Familiars.
Why was she not in a skirt like the red one was?
I will admit, I don't keep up with the comics as much as I wish I did, but there is a great channel where they give you the breakdown of these comics, and I'll link the video of this issue from Comic Story and on here. Just want to give you a warning that there will be spoilers ahead. The 1960s...
Oh god, the show's been around since the freaking early 1990s. Spoil away, my friend. Spoiler away.
69 team fought Psycho Green on the moon. He was awakened upon the moon landing and was there to free Rita. Zordon summoned these individuals and made them the first Mighty Morphin Power Ranger team.
The black should also have a skirt, just saying.
Jamie and Daniel were brutally killed by Psycho Green before he grew into his monster form. The only way he could be stopped was Nikolai sacrificing himself to save the remaining Rangers. After the battle, Grace and Torona are teleported to the command center. Enraged at being sent into a suicide mission without any training, they vow to use their powers to help the world, but Zordon demands the coins be returned. This is a very clear characteristic of Zordon. He, to some degree...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He has the coins. That was my thing. Whereas, he must have, said... Because I know in the newest movie, I think in the show, Rita was the original Green Ranger. And she took out yellow, blue, black. Those three. Even just Zordon as the Red Ranger. With the coins, he got an alpha, but then he got trapped into this, radio wave dimension.
He admits his fault, but at the same time tells them they can't have the powers. The whole reason this team had 3 members killed was because they were summoned suddenly and thrown into battle without training. So if Zordon claims he was at fault, why wouldn't he ask them to stay and train a team that can work together when the time comes? So Zordon basically does it again. He waits until Rita appears and then he summons a new team, but this time a group of over-emotional...
Yeah, the Rita from the original show was better than that Rita.
...humans. So Zordon's method really hasn't changed, he just needed younger people to manipulate. In the comics, the Rangers call out Zordon for not telling them about the former...
The hell's with purple and orange?
Ranger team, and he says it's part of his biggest regret. When they pushed that he should have told them, he said he was just trying to protect them from the past, and he misjudged them on what they could handle. This is a classic narcissist.
Also, just going off the comics there, if she saw that the Power Rangers returned, why wouldn't she try to track them down?
Move to tell the person I did this or withheld information because of you, ultimately trying to blame it on the other individual, which is taking the focus off of their mistake. And when the Rangers tell Zordon they want to help Grace, he tells them he can't be involved. Once again, if they are not following his orders, then he won't help them. Part of what I observed is that none of the Rangers really have a great relationship with Zordon. When Jason returns in Zeo, Zordon and him don't really have like a heart-to-heart moment. It's a very military-like welcome back. I never felt like Jason seemed that excited to be around Zordon again, and it was more of a I'll do it to help out, but I don't really need this sort of thing. People bring
Probably because the character didn't need to go back and they just brought him back for nostalgia.
up the Zeo powers and how a line in the show stated that the Zeo powers strengthen over time. This can be inferred that they are the strongest Ranger powers in the universe, so why would they ever switch to turbo powers? Well, what is different about the turbo powers that we haven't seen before? Justin the Blue Turbo Ranger was a kid, a lot younger than the other Rangers. He could morph and become a grown Power Ranger. But why did Zordon want this to be possible? At the end of the 3rd season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the Rangers are turned.
God, I get it. This is blame the time period, but Low Res man
Turned into little kids. They were unable to morph with their power coins as children. This shows that these powers and the Zeo powers don't allow little kids to connect to the morphing grid, but that's why Zordon wanted to experiment with a Ranger power that allows kids to become Rangers. I want to give a shout out to
again. Good argument for guys being evil. Oh, this doesn't work. Let's experiment on children.
Jared Gillenwater. He left a comment on one of my
Lead some more clear in your theory. Your Zordon's evil theory, I think. Justin plays more attention to the role than that. Especially that Billy and Alpha did most of the work in the Turbo Power. That's where Billy kept disappearing during the old Ranger saga. I haven't seen this whole thing.
my videos, and it was really well thought out, and he brought this idea to light. Zordon has the perfect cover-up because when the Rangers got turned into kids, Billy and Alpha set out to make sure that there was some way that they could defend themselves if the Rangers were turned into kids again, and so they created the turbo powers. Now, that was something that Jared pointed out. He did it really well, and I think that's a great point, because then Zordon...
Very long-winded, but yeah, but if you're trying to bring to the point. Look! Perfectly well crafted spacing, so you know when the next thing
once
is.
Billy had left, could use those powers any way he wanted, and he could start making child soldiers. What I wonder is that all of a sudden, Billy's aging starts acting up. Was that something that Zordon did to get rid of Billy so that he could use the powers without any sort of backlash from Billy? Because Billy didn't create those powers to make child soldiers. He built them as a safety guard in case something happened. If you think everything up to this...
Also, you can make the argument that Billy, being someone who was recruited as a teenager to be a teenage soldier, wouldn't want kids to go through the same trauma that he did. It's also a very thing like, oh crap, why would I want a kid to go through fighting these monsters daily? They're not ready for this. Mentally, I wasn't.
This point has been justified by Zordon, and it's being blown out of proportion. This next one is a bit difficult to dispute. There is a throwaway episode in Power Rangers Turbo that most people don't remember or think about that much. It's such a small, insignificant
Bulk and Skull. Such two great characters.
thing, but it makes a massive...
You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, look, here's your standard bully. They are not good, and they aren't good at their job.
problem in the Power Ranger universe. In this episode, the Rangers do a classic sort of clone trope, but they are not clones, they are robots that also can access the turbo powers. Now, Zordon knows a lot about the morphing grid and knows that only one person can access a specific Ranger power at once. So the fact that Zordon created a copy of the turbo powers is insane. The theory goes like this. Zordon left to go to Eltar when the Turbo Rangers got
Left, yeah.
their powers. Under Demetria's leadership, Tommy, Adam, Kat, and Tanya all left the team and left a whole new set of Rangers to join Justin. This was upsetting to Zordon because he had no pull with this new team. Justin was the only member who had any loyalty to Zordon, and it was a pretty short-lived relationship. If Zordon called on this team, they would question his orders, or at least that's what Zordon believed. Copying these
True.
powers were to weaken the Turbo Rangers, and once defeated, the powers are solely used by easily programmable and controlled robot versions of the Rangers. I believe that the Turbo Rangers were weakened by the Robot Rangers because they were so easily defeated by Divatox. Divatox wasn't a mastermind. The fact that such a silly and cheesy villain actually destroyed a Ranger team leads me to believe that there were outside forces weakening them throughout their time as Turbo Rangers. Even
Could also be a thing that Zordon wanted to actually make that team weaker. Like he said, the one team gets stronger over time. Maybe that's just a standard Power Ranger thing. Where it's like, hey, the longer you are synced up to this morphing grid, the more your brainwaves or whatever gets in sync with it, the more you can harness.
from the grave, we learned Zordon had trained an apprentice. In the 20th anniversary season Megaforce, we meet the mentor Gosei. He has been lying and waiting on Earth after Zordon's passing with what is easily the biggest amount of power in the universe. He has in his possession the Ranger Keys. This allows the Megaforce team to morph into any Ranger in history, including the ones not seen on Earth. I have a video talking about these legendary Rangers and some fan theories that go into it. It's a fun one if you haven't seen it already. But why did Gosei...
Also, I kind of wish the power... Granted, I know a lot of this is ripped off from a Japanese show with just English parts dubbed over. But it's like, hey, if you have female fighters, just automatically put them in a skirt.
Say wait so long to use this power? Probably because Zordon wanted it for his own use. Gosei was merely a pawn to keep these safe until Zordon could use them. But that day would never come once captured by the United Alliance of Evil. But the fact that Zordon has been working on this in secret raises a lot of red flags. One main plot point people want to point out is that Zordon's energy wave was a selfless act. The philosophical question we have to ask is, can someone with selfish intentions produce a positive result for others? I believe so. Trust me, there are plenty of narcissists in the world who do a lot of good for other people by default. But this is where
Current president?
a lot of people try to debunk this theory. If he
Also, this could... Like, I did not know this, so this is just throwing out a theory within a theory. What if Zordon, every time he left to go to a different place, and was slowly trying to rebuild his body, rebuild his life, waited back to get back into our reality? Maybe this was just the next necessary step to do this, which was destroy this wave to allow him to be like reborn type thing.
sacrificed himself, he can't be evil. I do agree his sacrifice was a redeeming moment for Zordon, but in no way does it prove that every moment leading up to this was done altruistically. If any,
Like I said, dude, go watch the Super Carlin Brothers, their Dumbledore's Big Plan theory, where basically Dumbledore, and even it says in the book, he's basically keeping Harry Potter alive to be unalive by Voldemort later on.
he knew he could stop this evil the whole time and chose to keep his powers instead of freeing the universe. So why did he tell Andros to do it? Well, Zordon was at the end. Evil had won and there was nothing he could do. This was it, and it was better to die a legend than be enslaved by evil forever. But the Z-Wave brings up a very interesting argument. A lot of people try to point out the plot hole of Zordon's wave destroying all evil in the universe, but yet there are so many other villains in the following season. It's a great point, but it was never fully stated that all evil was destroyed.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of just using this as a thing. But like a nuclear explosion, the fallout is vast and wide. But at the same time, you don't get that. Oh no, think of it like a nuclear, well, not a nuclear explosion. The volcano. Like a volcano erupted in like the early 1800s, and it was like the coldest year on history in the United States because a volcano on the other side of the world erupted. It's like, wait a second. But there were parts that weren't hit, so it's like this same theory could be here. The wave wouldn't be infinite going out; it would have to get weaker as it gets farther out.
In fact, Zordon's greed for power has a lot to do with this. In Season 2 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Zed makes a comment about the morphing grid balancing good and evil. Much like the Force in Star Wars being accessed by Jedi and Sith both, the morphing grid is not just used for good. In fact, there is a reason to believe that all of Rita's magical powers are accessed from the morphing grid as well.
Oh shit, she was a Power Ranger.
Talk about that in my Alpha is Evil fan theory video. Check it.
Well, I don't think Alpha is evil. No. I don't think Alpha is evil. I think he was the perfect pawn created by Zordon. Whether Zordon's good or evil, I think Alpha was literally created by Zordon to be his essential body when he couldn't be there.
Check it out if you haven't already. I believe that Zordon's goal was to eventually become so powerful that he could crush the forces of evil, destroying them forever. I believe his constant pull for power is what led to the morphing grid to counterbalance, motivating Dark Spectre to unite evil in the universe. But this isn't how the morphing grid works. Now, in the footage, you never actually see...
No, if the morphing grid's supposed to keep a balance between good and evil, it'd probably be more like, oh, good's getting used a little too much, just weaken that. It's just like the scales of justice type thing.
Anything destroyed besides the Alliance of Evil itself. And in Lost Galaxy, we see the planet Onyx with a variety of henchmen and monsters. And the franchise proves there's a lot of villains out there after this.
Also, if you have someone who's maybe not evil at the time frame, that Zordon's little energy wave thing goes off and then just becomes evil, well, it's after the fact.
Wave never destroyed all evil in the universe. Zordon's death was a vacuum. He knew that the Rangers couldn't win because he himself hogged too much of the morphing grid's power. When Andros shattered the tube, Zordon's wave rebalanced the morphing grid, taking out the evil in Zed, Rita, and Divatox, destroying the Machine Empire besides Prince Gasket and Archerina. The wave also spared Corone, and I believe this was destiny. She had a good heart, and the morphing grid knew she would need to be called on for the Lost Galaxy team. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, I think it's really important to watch this as an adult because you really do get a different perspective, and I think Zordon looks a lot different to people who have maybe had more life experience. I will say that in my life, I've actually had some really rough encounters with some narcissists, and
how many narcissists do you run into? I've read people who have egos, but not really like narcissists.
When I watch this back, I see those tendencies that I've seen in those people, and it really makes me realize that yeah, I think Zordon maybe isn't all on the up and up like we thought he was as a kid. And I'm not going to bore you with the big long story about my encounters with someone like this, but I do want to say that there have been several points in my life where I've dealt with narcissists and I have gotten rid of them out of my life, and I've decided
Yeah, if that's a smart logic thing to do. If you know people who aren't really there, like there's a difference between like, hey, like for example, I am using him to help grow my channel. I'm not gonna bash this guy. I think his theory's great. I'm not I've had videos that I've reacted to. I'm like, this is just bad, and I never uploaded it. If you know people in your life and they're not there to help you, or aren't at least saying my parents laughed when I did start this thing. They're like, you know, you're not gonna make money off this, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, cool, good luck with it. And that was basically a good thing. But they're like, stop doing it, stop doing it. They bust in hey, that'd be bad. But no, cut out negative people in your life. You don't, life's too short for that.
I don't need them around if they're going to treat me like this, if they're going to act like this, and I have never once regretted it. So if you ever have someone in your life who is making you feel horrible all the time about yourself, I encourage you, get rid of them.
I'm not saying about horrible about yourself all the time. It's just I've had friends. I'm going to use a real story of mine. Back when I was 20, 21, that it's because I'm a mellow, pretty laid back person. What you see is what you got. I'm not putting on a super front or anything. My one buddy would always say, his dad would be you being friends with him is a good thing because you calm him down. You show him that, hey, you don't need to be a giant ass all the time. But these people would literally just call him hey, can you bring over your Wii? I was you're only calling me for this stuff. And then they would always post on the internet oh, I love my kids, but it's always a drama thing. And I was just I don't need drama.
You're not going to be sorry. You're going to be a lot happier in your life. This is a video I've been meaning to do forever because it's a big subject. It's probably one of the biggest fan theories in the Power Ranger universe, and I hope I did it justice. I wanted to make sure it wasn't just a quick throwaway video. I wanted to get through all the nitty-gritty details of why Zordon could potentially be evil, and I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Check out my other videos if you're into this stuff. I will talk to you later. Bye.
Big hand, big hand. Okay, my final thoughts on this thing. One, well done video. I do think he did a lot of easy to follow explanation. I'm going to subscribe. I'm a fan of the Power Rangers. This is a very easy to follow video. Do I think Zordon's evil? No. I'll use something in from D&D. I think Zordon's more chaotic neutral, or like evil good or something like that, where it's like he's like chaotic good, where it's like, yes, his intentions are good, but that it's just almost like I know Fat Lectures talked about this. Like in the United States, we during World War II put Japanese American citizens in camps because we didn't want them to be spies. It's like, do the ends justify the means? Like, I think Abe Lincoln stopped, pretty much took away constitutional rights for a while during the Civil War. It's like, hey, do these bad things justify a good ending? I think that's more or less where Zordon is. And I think he kind of says he grabbed teenagers because they're easily manipulated. I 100% agree with that. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, if I think I'm going the right direction, I'm heading good, I've seen everything, I can fix everything, but I don't need anyone questioning me, you're going to take them more easily manipulated. Great video. Go check them out. Go watch more videos if you're a Power Rangers fan. I might check out another video later. But that's it. That's all I have. I'll see you weird people later.